Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Shane Pachikaru, and myself and May will be presenting to you today on the analytics tool. If I can just give May a chance just to introduce herself before I start. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. I'm just going to quickly turn my camera on. Hi, everybody. My name is May, and I'm the instructional designer at CLTD, and I work in Shane's team and look forward to engage with everyone further in today's session.
Thank you, May. I just want to share my screen quickly before we start. Welcome again to this afternoon session. I hope you're seeing my screen. I hope you're seeing my screen. So colleagues, today myself and May will be, sorry, excuse me, we'll be looking at using Ulwazi New Analytics tool to inform your course design. And we'll introduce you to a few concepts and some of the functionalities as we go along. And hopefully it's not overwhelming, but it's a tool that you need some practice in getting used to. But I'm sure once you get the hang of it, it won't be that difficult. So what we'll be covering today is how to enable the new analytics tool, how to view student page views and participation activity, how to track average course grades using interactive graphs or tables, message students who meet certain criteria, download student views and participation data, and how to use the people tool to analyze student participation. So when we look at new analytics, and most of you are already aware of this, but learning analytics can provide lecturers with a wide array of insights to help us understand student engagement in online courses, such as identifying where engagement is strongest and weakest. And this allows us by identifying where engagement, where it's strong and it's weak, and areas of engagement can help us understand what's working specifically for the students and what aspects of online courses need some redesign. And it helps us to just sort of look at a bird's eye view of what's going on in our course, which in our face-to-face classes, perhaps had a better feel, but in online courses, it's not that easy to look at. So learning analytics gives us some kind of leeway in understanding how students are engaging in your course design. And then it also allows you to identify which students are not as engaged as they should be, and this will also give us an opportunity to reach out to them and see how we can sort of interact with them or gauge why are they not interacting and so forth. So therefore, finding strong and weak areas of engagement can help us understand what is working and what aspects of the course need some redesign. So, as I said, normally in the face-to-face classroom, we could get feedback from students while students are sitting in front of us and so forth. But in an online environment, that is not so easy. So it also helps us to identify which students may be engaged and allow us to reach out to them as an immediate intervention, meaning you can do that sooner rather than later. And then, for example, you'll be able to see if your students have logged into your course, and if they haven't, this could be various issues. Perhaps this could be a load shedding, or there could be issues with device or internet connectivity. So it does help you to look at or get a feel of where the engagement is lacking and so forth. So just start to bring in some research here, and this article was published by Ming Wong that looked at learning analytics specifically, and they state that three areas of focus areas are being used for for learning analytics. In other words, institutions are using it in three broad areas, and that's to do with to improve student retention. So by closely monitoring students' learning and behaviors in the online space, students are at risk and can be identified early. Facilitators can therefore take prompt action and follow up with the students to provide assistance to students who need extra support, such as perhaps counseling or suggest additional resources so that they don't fall off from the course as such. Another area that they found was students to support informed student decision making. So institutions are provided with information and analysis generated from massive amount of data are used for informed decision making. For example, planning can be carried out on course development and resources allocation on the basis of information about the popularity of a course, or it could be the types of frequency of materials reviewed by students. And then also another area is helps in understanding students' learning behaviors. So facilitators can help determine which resources students access the most, which resources access the least, and determine which content students are struggling with. Facilitators can also use learning analytics to redesign content and ultimately better their courses for an enhanced student engagement. So this is just an article, and this is the broad spectrum of various institutions that across the world that are using learning analytics um, for course design and or more or less in these three areas of focus areas of using the analytics tool. So learning analytics only shows us, we must remember that learning analytics only shows us part of the picture. Remember that when students engage in other learning environments outside of the elements, we're not able to see that. But it's just important to note that there are learning interactions going on outside of the elements, and but this only gives us a bird's eye view of what's happening in the course. So therefore, it's also important to use other methods of gathering data from students, such as use Google Forms and surveys, etc. Okay. So what's important is when using new analytics tool, it's important to understand how participation is defined in Ulwazi and how are these statistics generated in the learning analytics tools. So, for example, when a student posts a new comment to an announcement, that is seen as participation. Uh, Anytime that the student submits an assignment, that is seen as participation, or if the student views or comments in the collaboration tools such as Google Docs or Word that's used within Ulwazi, that's seen as participation. If a student posts in the discussion forum, this is also seen as participation. If a student views a page or counts, will also count as participation. And if a student joins a Big Blue Button session, is also counted participation. And lastly, if a student starts taking a quiz or if a student submits a quiz, is counted as participation. So these are the broad categories of how participation is measured in Ulwazi. And if students do any of these activities, it is seen as some kind of participation on the students' side. So before we get started with the tool itself, uh, you must make sure that your course is published. You can view analytics for active and also concluded courses. So if a course has concluded, for example, it was last year, you can still see the analytics of the course, and even if it's a past semester as well. If you enable analytics in your course, you must need to be mindful that it'll take up to 48 hours to generate statistics, and it must note that analytics is not in real time. It's updated every 24 hours or so. So it does take time, and you don't see it immediately. Once you make changes or once you view in analytics tools, that you've got to wait a while before you see that in the analytics feature itself. Okay, so that's the end of my part so thus far. I'm going to hand over May, where she's going to take you more or less on a practical demo of how the tool works. Thank you. May I ask if there's any questions so far? No questions are such yet. Okay. Thank you, colleagues. May, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Shane. Hi, colleagues. Hi, everyone, again. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen with you. Okay, all right. I hope you can all see my screen. So we are currently using a demo site because we can't share any details of students due to POPI Act. So this is just a demo site just to give you an idea of what it looks like, what student data looks like in the new analytics features in Ulwazi. So we did mention to colleagues if you're able to enable new analytics in your course, so you can play around with it at the same time that we're giving you a live demonstrations of what are some of the features in the new analytics. So I'm just going to briefly go through some features, and then we will also give you some time just to look at your own course and maybe just look at some of those features in that new analytics in your course in Ulwazi. Okay, so to view new analytics, as Shane have mentioned, you have to enable new analytics. So to enable new analytics, you have to go onto your course, and then you scroll down on this course navigation panel, and then you click on settings, and then you select feature option tabs. And usually by default, now in Ulwazi, the new analytics is enabled by default. So you will find it here under new course and user analytics. So you can just, if this is not in a green tick, so you can enable it and just click on this little red cross and it will enable it for you. So it does take up to 24 hours in order for you to see the data of the student data in the new analytics. Okay, so you'll be able to find new analytics on the left-hand side as well in your course navigation panel. If for some reason you do not see this option appearing on your course navigation, all you have to do is click on navigation tab, and then your new analytics will probably be somewhere here. All you have to do is just click and just drop it to the top over here. So for example, if I just drop it down, if you don't want it to be visible, so all you have to do is just click on here and then drop it anywhere you want it to be. Let's say I want to be under people, and then you scroll down and then click on save. Right, so you'll see new analytics on the site. You can also access new analytics if you click on homepage. You'll find it on the right pane as well of the screen. So all you have to do is click on this new analytics option. So there's a little just pop-up message just to explain to you what is new analytics. So it's actually a tool, as Shane mentioned, just to help you just track the performance of your students and the activities within that particular course, whether students are looking at your resources, how many times that they view the particular pages, and whether they are participating in quizzes or any assessments that you have in Ulwazi. Okay, so this is just a little pop-up message where you can also have info answers to how do you send message to students, how do you send a message to individual students, and how do you view certain new how to view data analytics for individual students. So if for some reason you forgot how some of the features functions, all you have to do is just click on this little questions, frequently asked questions. So to close this pop-up message tab, all you have to do is just click on this right arrow to close it. All right, so basically what you're seeing here is the average course grade of your entire course. So as you can see, this current data is as of 11th of July, obviously 41 minutes past 7. Okay, so you have a couple of tabs here. So this particular tab, basically what it means is the average course grade of all the assessments that you have created and that you have set up in Ulwazi. So currently, as you can see here, the average course grade of all the weightings of the assessment is 33.95%. So that's just a summary of it. So the blue, so the blue dot just represent the average grade for the particular assessment. So for example, here, there's no data for introduce yourself. Perhaps the grades were not posted. Okay, so here this is the average grade of the June exam, and here is the average grade of the assignment where they have to submit a quote. Okay, so obviously on this y-axis is the grades, and on the x-axis here is the type of assessments that you have existing in your particular course. So here you can obviously add or filter the students, or filter per sections, or filter per assessment, or filter per students, depending on your preference, how you want to view the data. Okay, so you can even filter, for example, Baletier, which is one of the students. You can even also add another student, Sharon, and then you see here that Baletier is represented as a green dot, and Sharon is represented as a, I think it's magenta color. And then, as you can see, all sections is blue color. So you can sort of compare how the student doing compared to the average score of the entire course as well. So unfortunately, you're only allowed to have 2 options in the filter box. You can't have more than 2. Okay, so that's the only disadvantage there. Okay, so here, if you click on this little message student icon, so you can actually message students that you have selected in your filter box, or you can message students that perhaps miss certain assessments, or perhaps that obviously submitted assessment that's late. So currently there's no students that have submitted assessment that's late. If you click on missing, and if you click on that one student, we notice that Sharon has perhaps missed an assessment. So here what you can do is obviously you can send a message to that particular student, and the student will receive a message saying, notifying them that they have missed an assessment. So the student will be, each student will be BCC'd, so the student won't see each other's name or other student's name that might have missed the assessments. Okay, so here this is a download CSV file. So you can download this particular data as a CSV file that you can open in the Excel spreadsheet if you want to keep the record or keep the data offline. Okay, so menu button here, option here, what it basically does is that you can just change the display of your data. So currently is displaying as a graph or displaying as a shape. So if you click on data table, so it just changed display as a data table. So you can see exactly, for example, Baletier achieved 50% in this particular June exam, whereas the course grade is 25, and you see Sharon's. So this is just a different type of display. So if you want to select, for example, display shapes, this just changes the shape, of the individual students, or the assessment that you want to find data in. So it's just your preference how you want the chart options to be displayed as. Okay. So if I go back over here, so what you can do is you can even select, if I just want to see discussions. Currently, there's no discussions that is posted as grade. And then if I just unselect and I just want to see the type of assignments group that is existing in my course, so you can just unselect discussions and just click on assignments. So that's just a different way of looking at it. So what you can also do is you can also hover your mouse to the point. So for example, if I click on the average score of assignment, so it just displayed to you the average course grade of this particular assignment, and you can see that there's no student that have missed this particular assessment, and there are no student that have submitted late for this assessment. So this is just display the average grade what is the lowest grade that that a student have achieved, and what is the highest grade for this particular assignment. So if you click on, you have one student, hover your mouse over this bar, you can see there are one student that achieved between 60 to 65%, and then you can also see here how many students have achieved in the range of 95 to 100%. So if you click on the bar graph, it also indicates the list of students that achieve that a range of percentage for their assignment as well. So that's, you can also message that particular student who have achieved certain percentage range for that assignment. Okay, and then if you close it, and if you also click over here, if you want to see, okay, Baletier's mark, you can hover your mouse over this little green square, and then you're able to see that Baletier is achieved obviously 100%, and that she has submitted the assignment on time, and you can also individually message her as well. Okay, so basically this is the average course grade. So you can also close this filter box, and you can filter it according to the assessment type as well. So if you go here, click on assignment, again, this just pops up, so you're able to see exactly the assessment, the course grade average of that particular assessment, instead of just looking at it through this particular display graph. So if colleagues don't mind, you can use this particular time just to check out the new analytics features, especially the course grade. We can give you maybe 5 minutes to look at it and just explore this particular tab. And if you have questions, you're more than welcome just to unmute yourself, and we are also here to assist you. So I'm just going to give colleagues maybe a few minutes to have a look at the course data for their particular course, if you're able to do that. And then I will move on to the next tab and explain further what is weekly online activities. Would that be okay with colleagues? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kiana. So yes, so go ahead and explore a little bit in your own course if you're able to do so. So once you're done and 5 minutes up, then I'm going to move on to the next tab and just explain to you a little bit what is weekly online activities and what does that all mean. And please, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to put in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask away. Perhaps I also like to ask colleagues if you're able to enable new analytics in your course. Have you tried it? Or when you looked at it, was it enabled for you by default? Is everyone doing okay? Would you like me to move on ahead? Thanks, Ashad. Thanks, Aviwe. Okay, so all right, so that's basically the course grade, which is an average course grade for all the assessment in Ulwazi. Now, if you click on the weekly online activity, so basically the weekly online activity just allows you to see the average page views for that particular week over here. Okay, and also the average participations. So if you have discussion forums, if you have quizzes, if you have assessment that students need to participate in, so you're able to see how many students have participated for that particular resource pages in your Ulwazi. So depending on that particular week. So you can obviously, there's a little bar over here on top, so you can click on it and you can just move this right at the beginning and you'll be able to see exactly from the beginning when the course is published to whichever, to the end of the course or to the latest date. Okay, so this is how you can obviously view the beginning of the course dates per week. So here at the bottom here, you'll be able to see the dates of that particular course. So as you can see in the beginning of the course, there is a quite a big amount. A lot of students view a certain page or activity that's happening at that particular time on the 17th of May. So you can see here that there are total 27 pages that's viewed, an average of 13.5. And if you hover your mouse over here at the bottoms, you can see there's one participations in this beginning of when the course is published. Okay, so you have the same functionality as course grade. You can filter per students, you can filter per sections of, you know, in this particular filter box. Again, you can filter, I only have 2 students currently, so you can filter depending on the students. So this, the blue dot is everybody, the average for the entire sections or the entire course. And then as you can see, the green square is Balitie and the magenta diamond is Sharon. Okay, so you can always unfilter this. And you have the same functionality. If you click on the message icon, you can see, you're able to see or message students that have viewed a particular resource page. You can also message students that didn't view a particular resource page. So you can just click on this drop down arrow, and this is the obviously the resource page that the student has or didn't view. For example, one student didn't view peer review on Canvas, so you click on this little line, then you'll see which student has not viewed that particular resource page. And again, in the participated tab, you can see who participated in obviously all resources, or you can select and filter to certain type of resource page in Ulwazi. Again, click on that, you'll see which students have participated and didn't participate. So you can say all resources, or you can click on different resources, for example, course assignment, where both the students who haven't participated in this course assignment, then obviously you can send them that particular message. Okay, so you have that same functionality as the course grade. Again, you can download this particular data as a CSV file by clicking on the download icon and change the display as well to either a data table or to either a display shape. depending on your preference. So before I talk a little bit about this, I'm just going to move down ahead here. So here under the resources tab, so this lists all the resources that is in the course currently. So all the pages, all the quizzes or assessments or assignment that is in this particular course. So here you'll be able to see the number of students, obviously for the course, how many students have clicked on the page or landed on the page, how many students have obviously how many times students have viewed this particular page, and how many times, if there's any participation for example, if it's a course quiz, you expect students to participate, but unfortunately there is no student have participated in this quiz, but you know that this particular page has viewed 11 times. So here, this just explains to you, or it just helps you to make an informed decisions in your future course design, is that there could be a problem here in terms of the quizzes, that the students are viewing the pages, but they are not participating in the course, in this quiz. So you could perhaps here, you can think about what is the possible error in this particular quizzes, or the errors in the quizzes, or the instructions not clear enough. So this just an information that helps you and informs you on your course designs. And as you can see that the highest page view is the course home. So here, if students, obviously this is the first page that the student will land on when they click on or when they open this course. So this data also allows you to think about, perhaps this is a important page where you can put important information about the course, the type of assessments, or anything that's to do with the course, for the course or for the program, and all important links that student can access, or general informations about that course. So again, so this just allows you to decide maybe in the future course design, you could put the important general information for the students to view, because this is the landing page or the first page they will view or they will see when they click on the course. So you can see here in the Introduce Yourself discussion forum, you can have two students have viewed, and there are 2 participations. So this is just a summary table of all the resources that you have in Ulwazi or in your course, and how many times those pages have been viewed, and how many times those pages, or how many times the student, or how many students have participated in those particular pages or activities. Okay, so if I just scroll all the way in the beginning, as you can see that there's a dot over here, there's an average here, so it means that at this point in time, on the 13th of September, there is a lot of participation as well as page views in this particular day. So you can even just hover your mouse and click on the blue dot over here. So this just basically tells you there are 2 who viewed this page, and there are 2 who participated during this particular time. Okay, so if you click on the resource, this is the students. Okay, so this particular students have viewed pages 13 times, and Baliti has viewed pages 18 times, and obviously both of them have participated twice for that particular week. Okay, so if you click on the resource tab, and it also tells you which page for this particular week that the student have viewed or participated. Okay, so they looked at quizzes, they looked at homepage, they looked at Introduce Yourself, so basically most things. Okay, but if you click, so you can also click over here. Again, it just takes you to the message icon, and it also allows you to see how many students view certain pages, which resources or pages have they viewed. Didn't view, participated, didn't participate. Okay, and then if you click on the student tab, it allows you to see the analytics of the individual students. Okay, so it allows you to see the course grade average of Sharon. So if you hover your mouse over here to the blue dot, it just allows you to see that Sharon submitted their assignment on time, and this is obviously the percentage that she received for their assessment. And just like the June exam, that she had missed it, she didn't submit it. So it just allows you to see the course grade of that of this particular student. And if you click on the weekly online activity, it also allows you to see Sharon's weekly online activity specifically. Average, she have viewed 32 pages, and in total, she only participated on 2 of the resources or activities. If you click on the communication tab, this also allows you to see how many times that she have messaged or the instructor or the facilitator have communicated with Sharon or vice versa. So you can click on it and then it just tells you exactly when the instructor have messaged her or when she responded, whether she had responded to that message. So clearly she has not responded to this particular message. And if you go all the way to the left, as you can see here, the instructor have sent a message and then she has also responded on that particular day. Okay, so again, you can download all these information and data as well as a CSV file, to keep a record offline. And again, you can change the display option to either data table, which allows you clearly to see exactly which assessment she have submitted on time and which assessment that she obviously did not submit. You can also obviously change it as a display table, just like previously now. So this is basically course analytics for the individual student. And again, you can click on the message icon and you can even message Sharon or this particular student privately or individually. Okay, so that's basically yes.
Sorry, maybe just before we move on, Leon asked a question. Is it possible to create or set up groups of students to compare engagement over time instead of just selecting individual students?
Yes, so if you have sections already in your course page, so if you have created a section, so you can have, for example, I have 2 sections, Team A, all right, and then Team B. So you can compare the different cohorts of students or different sections of students if you don't want to look at individual student as well. Unfortunately, you can only select 2 at most and then compare to the average course grade. Does that answer your question, Eileen?
Yes, thank you, May.
You're welcome. Okay, so yes, so that's basically is the weekly activity, online activity, what it means and how you can interact with the data for that particular. So again, you can also download this weekly activity as a CSV file that you can open as a Excel spreadsheet. Okay, right. So if I could just move on a little bit to the next tab. So the next tab functions the same way as the individual course analytics of the individual students in your course. So usually before, in the beginning, Canvas Ulwazi or Canvas only had the 2 tabs, course grade and weekly online activities, and then you can only access the individual student course analytics if you just hover your mouse over a point and then you click on the students. So now as an extra upgrade, so they added to the student tab, so you can see all your students listed down here as well. And then again, you can filter and you can message your students. So you can see here, you can do the same thing. You click on the student name. It just gives you the individual students course analytics. And you can just see here, or at least the average score for that particular student, how many times, how many percentage are they on time for that particular assessment, when is their last participation date in the course, on which date have they viewed the page in the course, but it not necessarily, obviously it doesn't tell you exactly which page, unfortunately, which page they have viewed the last. And then it just also tells you the amount of pages that the student has viewed and the amount of times that they have participated in this, in any resources in Ulwazi. So this also just gives you an idea of how the student's performing and also perhaps the possible reason if the students view 60 times or the most, or out of these 2 students, she have viewed the most pages, but you're still wondering why she still scored sort of an average mark, not the best mark. So this just also helps you to perhaps sort of prompt that engagement with the students and also identify sort of students that might have scored below average. And you can also individually message a student, perhaps they're experiencing certain problems in, for example, accessing resources. So if they experience certain problems in accessing resources, then the next question would be, is the resources accessible to all the students, or is it inclusive to all the students, that they're able to access it easily and able to participate in that particular activity. So that's the reason why you could use an analytics tool or data to interpret, just to inform your planning for your course designs. Okay, so you just have the same function as weekly online activity and course grade, which is message student and also download CSV files. So message the student who meets certain criteria. For example, you can message student who score between the ranges average, maybe 0 to 50%. And then if I just press here, then you see, and it automatically Ulwazi will just identify to you which students have scored between the range of 0 to 50%. You can click on the student's name, and then you just obviously pop that student message. You can even obviously click on the student who have missed the assessment or submitted any assessment that is late. Okay. So all the reports, again, you can run a report on a CSV file. Obviously not real-time data. It takes about 24 hours. So every time you post a grade or you mark, or if a student obviously participated in a quiz, and that particular mark does not reflect immediately in the data, it will take about 24 hours for it to reflect in your new analytics data. Sometimes it can go beyond 24 hours. I believe that it can go even up to, it will take up to 40 hours as well to get for the new analytics to update the data in your course. Okay, so you can run reports for missing assignments, late assignments, excused assignments. That's depending if you are using that functionality in your course in Ulwazi, course activities, class roster. So that you can run reports for all of these things. Okay. Now, online attendance.
Sorry, May, just before you move on to the next tab, Aline has a question here as well. Oops, I just sort of went out there. She wanted to know, is it possible to see the total time spent in the course rather than just seeing student page views?
I don't think that you can see the total amount of time, unfortunately, the student have spent using that. You can do that if you go onto People's Tool. So you can see that in your People's Tool, the total amount of activities, the time that the student have spent on the course, that is where you can see the time. In the new analytics, unfortunately, only shows you the average page view and the participation view. I hope that answers your question, Eileen.
Thanks, May. Yes, I'll also play around with it a little bit. I'm more familiar with Blackboard Analytics, so I'm just trying to find out, where I can find similar information in the new analytics here.
Okay.
But thanks for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, so yes, so that is just, a way for you to look at an amount of time that the student has spent in the course. So you can see that Sharon only spent about 14 minutes. And then Shane is the teacher. Obviously, he spent about 16 hours in the course. And versus Balatia has obviously spent 11 hours. So maybe here, this is the reason why Sharon hasn't performed so well compared to Balatia, who has spent more time in the course. So that's also a way of using data to inform your decision in your course design. So if I go back to New Analytics, so the next tab is online attendance. So before I go into the online attendance, if you click on the setting over here, this just informs you or tell you how do they measure the criteria for online attendance. So currently you can't, we can't select and deselect. These settings is already set by Canvas by default. So we're not able to change it whatsoever. So it just tells you if student meets the criteria of course access, so student views a particular page, it means that then this online attendance will indicate to you from Monday to obviously Friday, depending on how you filtering it, that the student have obviously participated or attended this particular online or this course. It also looked at whether student posts new comments. So if student posts the comments, it means they have met the criteria. So they have, so what they're going to here indicates is that the student have attended on that particular day. If they have submitted assignments, if they have joined a Big Blue Button conference, and also if they have participated in a quiz. So that is the online attendance setting criteria. So you can filter again per weeks or per day, depending on your preference. So if you move the arrow to the left and if you move the arrow to the right, it just tells you exactly which week you want to view the online attendance for the students. You can obviously select the days that you want to view the students, whether they have, sort of entered your course and then click on the course and view a page, or they have submitted assignment or quiz. So you can select whichever date that you prefer. And you can also obviously filter again criteria that is not met or criteria that is met. So I'm just going to switch to another demo site, just allows you to see what exactly this means here. So you can see for this particular week, there are 0 days that's not met for both Baliti and Sharon's. There's absolutely no activity between in these students at all. They haven't clicked, they haven't opened the course, they have not participated. So if you look here, sorry, let me just reload this. Okay, so here, if I click, so you can see here, these students here, that's, for example, on Thursday, everybody have obviously participated or attended the course, if I could say so. Obviously, they met the criteria of visiting a page, visiting a resources, view a resource, or they have obviously participated in a quiz, or they have submitted assignment. Unfortunately, here we can't really see exactly when, what is the criteria. So we won't be able to see that. The only time we can see that is either by weekly online activities or obviously by students tab. So basically, this is the new analytics tool. Is there perhaps any questions from colleagues' side? Or do you want maybe 1 or 2 minutes just to look at your own course site and see and play around with the new analytics? And then perhaps you can ask questions. Are you doing good so far? Okay, thank you, Eileen. So if there's no questions, again, I'm just going to hand it back to Shane because of the time. And Shane will show you People's Tool. So you can also view analytics under People's Tool as well. Shane?
Thank you, May. So colleagues, as May has indicated now, I'm just going to show you how you can gauge other ways of interactions in your course. And this is specifically how to use the people tool to do that. Okay, so I just want to just show you briefly a step-by-step process of how to do that. So this is specifically see student interactions, okay, in the student interactions report while using the people tool. So you would go to the people tool on the left, then you will click on the three dots, and then you'll click on Student Interactions Report, and this is the interface you will eventually end with. Okay, so I just want to show you that basically. I'll add this resource also to the chat for you in just when I'm done. Okay, so just want to go to the course itself now. Where am I now? Okay, sorry. It seems like I just came out of the site. I was there. Wait, I think maybe it's there. Okay. So this is the same demo site that May was using. So like I showed you, you go to the people tool of your course site. Then on the right hand side, you will see this little three dots. You click on those little three dots. Then you'll see student interactions report. You click on that. Okay. So yeah, basically it gives you a list of all the students in your course. And you've got given this interface here, your students, last student interaction, current score, final score, and ungraded assessment. Okay. So what's important to note, last student interaction is not when students interacted with the resource or looked at the resource or attended a Big Blue Button session or anything of that sort. It basically means when last did you interact with the student or when the student interacted with you. So, for example, Sharon, you see 61 days ago, we did interact with her, okay? And thereafter, another student was Antoinette. We never interacted with her. And then we had biology 244 days ago. Okay, so that's just to look at the nutshell of when last interactions have you made with your students, if you have, and also allows you to gauge whether you've made any attempt to speak to the student or the student did attempt to speak to you in any way. So if a student, for example, this student, you never made contact with them, and you see they've got a 0, and then you just want to make contact with them, you just click on that little email box, and then you could just say, for example, please come and please, I'm going to say come, please contact me about your grades, and basically the same thing you'll type in here, and then you will just say send, so it will send an email to the student itself. So that's one way of seeing how the students have more or less interacted with you. Something else which is interesting, if you click on a student here like this, like what I've just done, and then you go to interactions report here on the right hand side, here you would be able to see if you are a facilitator in any other course, the student is present in those courses. This is where you will see it. So it's important to note, only if you are the facilitator in any of the other courses, you'll be able to see if the student is in that course, and it allows you to see whether the student is also performing badly in other courses that you are facilitating. So this is sort of gives you a look at seeing what other courses am I facilitating that the student is present. Perhaps the student is doing poor only in this course, but doing better in other courses. So they could be the student is struggling with specific content or specific understanding. So it allows you to more or less touch base with the student, but it just gives you a deeper understanding of what's happening with the student as such. So this is very useful if you've got large classes where you can't keep track of all students, but perhaps you see one student that sort of sticks out, that you know what, something is wrong, but you can perhaps see where else the student is struggling, or if doing better in other courses. But it's important to note that you must be a facilitator in those courses. Okay, so if I go back to the people's tool, I just want to show you something else now, and this is a list of all your students, and as May say indicated, you can see the total activity, how much of time students are spending in the course site. But you must also remember, sometimes students just leave the course page open and they never do anything, and it also records as student being active in the course. So just to be something to take note. But more or less, once the student is in the course, they have the page open in Ulwazi. They are recorded as being active in the course. Okay, so if I click on Sharon here, it gives me pops up a new window on the right hand side. This is what you call a student context card. Sorry. So from a student context card, you get a bird's eye view of how the student is performing, uh, um, more or less more in depth compared to just using the analytics tool on its own. For example, you can see the student grades. You can go to new analytics. You can see if the student passed or failed, if they didn't submit something or they submitted late, and then it gives you the 4 last graded items that the student submitted. So that's dependent on how many items the student did submit. So for example, if you just hover your mouse over, this is to submit an assignment. This was to submit a summative assessment. This was to introduce yourself, and this was quiz one. So this is the headings of how the student has been what the student has been what assessment the student has been interacting with, and which are the last ones that the student did interact with. Okay, so there's also a participation and page views. So this is important that it compares the Ulwazi tool. This tool specifically compares the student against other students, and not in terms of the content ending, but how students are performing against other students in terms of interaction and participation. So what's nice about this feature as well, if I want to see exactly, okay, this student got 5 out of 8, but I would like to see how the student, what did the student do in the assessment. So all I do is I can click on this and you can take me there, or I can go to grades specifically. If I open the grades tab, it shows me all of the assessments going on for that specific student. Okay. First of all, if you look on your right, you'll see, okay, this is how my assessments have been broken up. For example, I have a formative assessment, which is a quiz one, it's 25%. I have a June exam or summative assessment. It's a 50% count, and then formative assessment, which is an assignment that submit, which is 25%, and it totals up to 100%. And if I look on the main interface here, this is the assessments, quiz one, introduce yourself, and assessment, and so forth. All those are broken down. So if I want to see exactly, this student didn't get anything out of 5, but I want to see exactly what happened here. If I go to quiz one and I click on it, then uh, so there was no. I think this wasn't published to the student itself. Sorry. You can see no preview available. Okay, so this student didn't perform or didn't submit out of 5 at all. So there's nothing to see there. But if I go to this submit a quote, which is out of 8, and I click here on this specific assessment, I can click on it on this. Then it takes me basically to that assessment. You can see it's an assignment. It was submitted there. The student got 5 and so forth. So if I just go back one step here and let's go to another student, perhaps, and that student will be. Let me just go to uh, volunteer here, and I go to grades here. Okay, and this student did submit a formative assessment. I just want to see what's going on there. So you can see a student scored 9 out of 9% there, and it tells me in detail which questions the student got right and which questions the student got wrong. Okay, so that's if you want to see an assessment in detail as such. And then further on, you can even go into the quote here as well. And then obviously it gives you the breakdown as well of how the assessments again have been broken down. And in total, the student got 66% or 67% in total. So this is this is how you access it from the People's Tool. You can also decide you want to um, look at the criteria from the due date, when it was conducted according to due date or module, and so forth, uh, and how it sort of appeared in terms of module, in sequencing of a module, which was completed first, and so forth. For example, you see 1st April, 31st, and then 15 March, which is thereafter. Okay, so that's more or less how you can see interactions from the student from the people's tool, but specifically going into assessment and seeing exactly what the student would see. So it's different from the analytics tool in that allows you to go in detail into one specific student to see how they are performing in the course side as such. Sorry, we went already over 4 minutes. Sorry, apologies for that. So that brings me to the end of the session or from my presentation. And I may just ask if there's any questions. Is there any questions, colleague? Sorry, I see we went a bit over time. Apologies for that. Um, so it's important to note there's in Ulwazi there's different ways of seeing things and different features of accessing specifics. From what May showed you, you can see the online interactions of students and seeing how they're participating in the course overall. And then within from the people's tool, you can see a specific student and how they performed in specific assessments as such, and how did they perform in terms of answering those questions. And then it gets you more detailed, in-depth understanding of where that student could have went wrong. Okay. So colleagues, I'm going to upload the resource of how to look at the student interactions, uh, uh, how to access that. I will post it in the chat in a second or so. So if there's no questions, colleagues, please note that this is not the end of our journey. You are more than welcome to chat to us, even or pop us an email in terms of understanding so forth. We are more than welcome to keep the conversation going and look and assist you wherever we can in terms of helping you understand. And that's with the analytics tool as well as with Ulwazi, or if any other issues you do have, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, Shane. I'm just going to post the link to self-enroll into the T4T site, teaching technology for teaching site. So all the resources for new analytics and anything to do with designing and building a Ulwazi assessment and gradebook is on that particular Ulwazi site for your perusal. So I'm just going to paste that link in the chat for the colleagues. So you have to just click on the link and you will be joined in for our technology for teaching site.
Sorry, colleagues, there's something else we've started now. Maybe, I'm sorry, I'm just using it as a quick a sentence or so just to mark it. We've started to look at helping academics review their courses to make them better. We've already started with a course that we're offering, and you're more than welcome to join that course. We have it like once a month, but we're also looking at individual lectures that want to review the course to make it better. So we look at different dynamics, and we use a rubric to help to help fully look at criteria that can enhance your course, and definitely to make it better in terms of looking at different features, looking at accessibility, looking at student orientation, and we're really looking at trying to assist you with making your courses better. So please touch base with May or myself in terms of that as well. Thank you very much.